She spent 5 years building a life with this man, and they lived together, supported each other, and talked about forever. But when his grandmother passed away and her thesis deadline landed 4 days after the funeral, she had to make an impossible choice. She chose her education, and he told her he would never forgive her. But what happened next? That's where this story goes from heartbreaking to absolutely jaw-dropping. This story comes from a 26-year-old woman. At the time, she was living in Glasgow, Scotland, finishing the final year of her master's degree in architecture. This was not just any school year. This was the culmination of 7 years of education. Her entire career depended on one massive research project, 200 pages, due on a fixed deadline with absolutely no extensions allowed. She had been with her boyfriend for 5 years. They had lived together for 3 of those years. She described their relationship as solid. He used to tell her they were family, that they would always take care of each other. She believed him. She thought he was her forever. Her boyfriend had a complicated past. His parents were not really in the picture growing up. The person who raised him, the person who protected him, who loved him unconditionally, was his grandmother. She was everything to him. In her final years, she developed dementia, but even then she always remembered him. She remembered their little inside jokes. That is how deep their bond was. And then in March of that year, his grandmother passed away. When she found out, she immediately stepped up. She took her boyfriend to a cathedral where they lit candles and walked through the gardens and talked about his grandmother. When his friends came to visit that weekend, she spent the entire weekend with them to keep his spirits up even though she desperately needed that time to work on her project. She spent that whole week taking care of him, letting him rest, helping him grieve. But here's where the impossible situation began. The funeral was scheduled for 4 days before her research project was due, and the funeral was not just across town, she was in Glasgow, Scotland. The funeral was in a small town called Felixstowe, all the way down in the south of England. That is literally the entire length of the country. She tried everything. She worked around the clock to get her project done early so she could make the trip. But a 200-page research project does not wrap up on command. She was still editing and adding content up until 2 days before her deadline. She asked her academic advisor for an extension and was told the university does not grant extensions under any circumstances. If she submitted incomplete work, she would not graduate that year. 7 years of education, gone. So she made the hardest decision of her life. She stayed behind to finish her project, but she did not just disappear on him. She called him every morning and every evening on video chat while he was away for the funeral. She was there for him emotionally, every single day. When he came home after the funeral, he was devastated. She tried to talk to him about it. He showed her photos. She read the eulogy that his sister had delivered, and she started to cry. And that is when he snapped. He told her she had no right to cry. She had no right to be upset, because she chose not to be there. From that moment on, he changed completely. For the next 2 months, he was cold, distant, and sometimes outright cruel. He would ignore her all day. He would be rude for no reason. When she confronted him about it, he said he could never forgive her for missing the funeral, ever. And here's what makes this even more painful. She had gone through a similar situation the year before. He had a major deadline for his own degree, and she had supported him through it completely. She had been his rock. But now, when it was her turn, he admitted to her face that he did not want to help her. He could not be bothered. During one of their fights, he revealed something she had never known. His father used to beat him as a child badly, and his grandmother was the one who protected him from it. She had no idea. 5 years together, and he had never told her about the abuse. She suggested therapy. He refused. His solution was for her to leave the country. He wanted her to go back to her home country for a few weeks to visit her family and to leave him completely alone so he could grieve in peace. He also said he was thinking about moving out of their apartment at the end of summer to live with friends. But, and this is the part that got me, he said he still wanted them to stay together. She agreed to give him space. She booked a flight home. They set ground rules. They both agreed to start therapy. Moved into the spare bedroom for a few days. And then slowly, things started to improve. They spent time together, went to the park, started reconnecting. After 5 nights in the spare room, he moved back into their bedroom. She genuinely believed they were going to make it. And then her grades came back. She got an A on her research project. On top of that, one of her urban design proposals was nominated for a gold award from the Royal Institute of British Architects. After the hardest year of her entire life, she had not just survived, she had excelled. She sent him a long, heartfelt message. She thanked him for supporting her through her degree. She told him she loved him. She told him she was glad they were working on their relationship. He came home that night, furious. He screamed at her for an entire hour. He said her success proved that she never needed to miss the funeral in the first place. If she got an A, she clearly had enough time. He said her lack of confidence in her own abilities was the reason she stayed behind, not the deadline. And then he said the words that ended everything. He told her he hated her. After that, she went numb, and she stopped listening. She stopped talking. Something inside her just switched off. The next morning, she had her final exhibition, a massive showcase of her architectural work where students network with professionals in the industry. The year before, she had spent 6 hours at his exhibition talking to strangers about how talented he was. 6 hours promoting his work. He told her not to expect him at hers. He said he needed to go to the gym. that was the moment she was done. She told him that morning that she was not coming back. She was leaving the country permanently. She said he went kind of numb and just agreed. Then throughout the day, he started texting her from work, apologizing, saying he would come to her show after all. She replied with 5 words: "You're no longer invited." She moved out that day. She left the furniture behind. She left her bike and her instruments with a friend. She paid her final half of the rent and booked a one-way flight home. And here's the ending that makes this story unforgettable. She had just been offered a job at a firm working on a major city planning project in her home country. She had an architecture degree with honors, a nomination for a national award, and a fresh start waiting for her. She walked away from a 5-year relationship, from a country she loved, and from a man who told her he hated her for choosing her future. And she did not look back. This story sat with me for a long time after I read it, because she did everything right. She supported him, she cared for him, she called him every day during the funeral. The only thing she could not do was physically be there, and he punished her for it for months. But in the end, the person who was supposed to be her forever could not even show up to her exhibition, and she still walked away with her head held high. So what do you think? Was she wrong for missing the funeral? Or did he destroy this relationship all by himself? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. I post new ones every single day.